I lie here coated in the violet birth which too greases my boat. I am washed in it, though still my skin it burns and blisters. I know I am to die, but where I will go I do not know. I hath already been to hell. I recount my tale with the remnants of life I contain. Listen and indulge thee thy whim of oration proper. Now all my life I have considered myself neither Christian, nor Jew, nor acolyte of any such Abrahamic creed. I was raised by a lonely widow, stern enough I feared no devil and no God. No, when I speak of hell, it is not with the obsession of the devout, but the apathy of the wicked. In my time I was a captain, and thy vessel was the Madam Stinchworth, a brigantine over 100 feet from stem to stern post and 120 tons burden. Though she could haul plenty of oil and meat, the madam and I spent our youth in piracy. Such was her agility. First it was smuggling, then it was dolphining, and just once, humaning. It was a year ago under my captainage I led the crew to hunt and spear a man, former crewmate of ours, Brandon. He was once very dear to me, yet it is true we drained his oil for our lanterns. He betrayed me, told thy crew of our fleshy unions, our calm togetherness, our corruptible sensitivities. Think about him still each time I set thy lamp to blaze. The Madam Stinchworth had no problem hunting him, I can tell you that. She delivered me nothing but pride. I was mid-aged yet healthy, a commander of 30 men, 2 cats, and countless vermin. I ran a tight ship, but we found time for mirth. An accordion would play, spirits would pour, and on a calm enough sea I'd sing a song. It was just such a night the storm snuck upon us. We were returning home, pockets clanking and eyes winking. Over calm seas, this is what I sang. Hug me my knees, scrub me my dingle, I'm a boat-loving lover, of the sails my loins tingle. The men sang along, and the vermin scratched in subtle percussion. Rub me my tugger, tug me my glee, for a boat without drink is no vessel for me. Finishing the verse, a shrill whistle rose behind me. The attention turned then to my first mate, Stig Rubberwurst, a phlegmy Norwegian with only 5 toes between 2 feet, and the gleaming bottle he held. Dearest captain, sir, I hath fetched thee a healthy spirit. It was discovered by thy second mate in the gap between floorboards and the bunks, a hidden treasure in our own boat. I blanched. My pulse prickled in my fingertips. I knew the bottle well, for it belonged to my once gentle Brandon, whose oil burned in my study. He bragged to me that he stole it off from Macedonian 19 moons back. It glowed then, too. Perhaps it was the coal of his memory grown warm, but I was struck by fear. I wanted this piece of him gone. Pop that puppy open, I commanded. Imbibe freely, thy salty men. Cheers erupted, and the cask was cracked. Stig decanted the luminous ethanol to mugs, bowls, and cupped hands. Swirling between my incisors, it had the taste of wine, incense, and wax, a pagan ceremony in slurpy form. Though we had but swigs apiece, my memory swam with fog the second it was downed. Of those indeterminable hours, all I remember is laughter, the crinkling of broken glass, and the flash of fire. Next I knew, cold night rain splattered my face and soaked my pantaloons. I coughed till my eyes burned red. My knees were bloody, my shirt was gone, and my throat was splinters. Gosh! Oh, fuck! I sputtered. Around me the crew lay prone. The foremast was crooked and the topsails torn. With a flash of unnatural green lightning, I gasped at swirls of purple storm clenching dark around us. Men, to thy stations! Waterspouts rose in fingers to the sky, and the sky reached back with stalagmites of storm, the 2 shaking hands in sinister union. As Stig rose, still wobbly with drink, the mainsail tore free and whipped him from the deck, and that was the last I saw him. We survivors tied ourselves down. More men were lost, and some rats as well, I'm sure. Come morning, ocean was glass. There was no wind. We stagnated there hours under cloudless sky. It was then we discovered our wares, food stores included, were gone. Come night, we sought the stars to tell us our location, but the heavens were corrupted. New constellations replaced the old, and we named them as such. Stone Grinder, Clock Face, the Little Stinker, and the Big Sniffer. I envied Stig. His death was over while ours had begun. It was with confusion that I heard the second mate's call the next day. "Land!" he cried. "Thy fucky, madam, land!" Eyes turned all about, but no edge of the horizon betrayed his discovery. I shook off my cap and whipped him about his scruff. "Idiot! Shit! I assaulted. "Thou cannot raise thy hopes so undeserved!" He endured my attack with the expression of a drugged child. He had uneven eyes and a crooked rictus, as though, while gooey, God had stirred his face with a stick so it cooled into a scramble. I swear to thee, I could not recall hiring the man. Was he among us before the storm? Yet his eyes were familiar. I dare not say why. I hit him again. Yet he did not relent. "I'm sorry, dear Captain, but you look to the wrong horizon. Downwards, thy captain." We 13 remaining craned over the edge of our madam, and so it was true. Ground was clear beneath us. Where among any sea's leagues was it ever shallow? Yet motionless as we were, without wind for our sails, the speckled ocean floor rose to meet us as the sun centered in the sky. An hour later, we discerned rocks on the bottom. Another hour, and the men pointed out creatures squirming. Eels. Dozens of them. The whole time, the sun did not move. I quelled my panic until my lady she touched rock and listed port side. Against my commands, the men jumped to the ocean floor, stamping feet in the puddles of ocean. Though I tried, I could not stand upon a vessel so crooked. I slipped down to join them, and so did the vermin. "Everyone stay calm!" I shouted to my laughing, disobedient crew. "The water will return, of this I am sure." They nodded, but cared not. By this time, each stomach was yearning, and rumble splintered our resolve. The rats, then, in a strange unified mass, sent up a gasping cry like this. In haste, they fled our location as though hot on a sniff, a speeding carpet of fur. It was that damnable second mate who suggested, "Perhaps they sense food." The men all nodded heavy skulls at thy detestable mate. Off my delirious crew ambled, a Pied Piper in reverse. They imbeciles enough to follow the songs of rats. In pursuit, I marveled how quickly the ocean floor turned alien. The vegetation turned from wet slops of kelp to dry grasses, and the flat sand gave way to squares of rock, all angular and leaning. I swear a day passed, yet that damnable sun did not move. Meanwhile, my dozen deserters were singing, passing bottles ahead of me. I swear one glowed like a lamp. "Thou vermin, deliver us no banquet!" I cried. "Dear crew, we must find our boat again!" But no, I met mine, each man possessed. The rats tired before us men. Their flock thinned a rat at a time, so I passed tiny exhausted corpses every few minutes. Soon there was but one survivor, for whom the crew hooted and cheered. Encouraged by men, it found its destination. Yards ahead, the rat disappeared within a stony mouth erupting from the dirt. The black abyss was 3 men wide, ribbed like a dog's hard palate, and it steamed as though belching at its meager rat appetizer. The mate directed the first of us down. "Stop!" I beseeched. "Seize!" I sobbed. The mouth swallowed my crew, man by man. When it was my turn, I was convinced I had no other option. As though a dream, I understood my role. I was a passenger. There were ancient stone stairs descending down, scooped and polished by countless feet. Ahead, the gleeful mate sang a new song. "Rend thy leather into strips, fetch the hog for the slaughter. Grab thee thy wretched wife, urge her sing the song I taught her. Break a glass and cut the lamb, black the eyes and saw the hand. Grin thee chin, a fresh new grin. The sin, it is complete. When the song finished, I thought it was my imagination producing the other voices singing. A whole choir I heard, hearty and true. Then they started clapping, hoo-hooing and hee-heeing too. The men, their eyes were teary, and I saw the littlest among them, Frisco, mouth the word, home. The esophagus opened into a tremendous bowel of cavern. There were fires and pits, eternal tables, topped with candles and chalices, crowded with somber, pale souls. There were thousands huddled in somber collectives, greasy geriatrics, sobbing women, gangly teens, and chubby infants. There too were dogs, cats, snakes, insects, creatures I had never known. And like a barricade stretching infinite in each direction, piles of trash, furniture, and cribs, which I swear squirmed with infant life. At our entrance, the clapping hands and eager eyes approached in welcome. "Enter, please," laughed a lively elder woman, back bowed over a cane which did not slow her. She barked to the children about her. "Gather the bowls and cutlery. We must treat thy guests, lest they mistake our sloth for impudence." The crew, directed by the grinning second mate, arranged themselves at one of the miles-long tables. Begrudgingly joined, humbled by the destitute banquet the children spread. My men filled cheeks with that chestnuts and apple slices, loaves of bread and ale. Though my belly ached, I resisted what I rightly assumed a temptation. The second mate, too, did not eat, staring skyward with hands knit behind his neck. His mushed face angered me. I wished to smash it. It was then that small, gentle Frisco asked the question we all thought. Where are we? A laughing voice responded a few feet away, plodding ever closer with a metallic clank, clank, clank. Each of my men only met the height of his nipples, and his hands, rugged and lined, could palm my skull as though it were a plum. He was bronze and dusky, nude save for an open robe which revealed no genitals, male or otherwise. His knees bent at painful angles, so he progressed only with the aid of an aluminum walker. He joined us with a grin and a stumble. "Thy merry guess, thou hast entered thy domain. Welcome to hell." I stood then, certain the nightmare was at last reality. "Devil! Lucifer! Get behind thee, detestable beast!" I had my chalice ready and a raised fist so wine dripped down my shoulder. I waited for the devil, Lucifer, the fallen traitor of thy Lord's angel, to begin his attack, tear me asunder from my pious declaration. Instead, his face it puckered, and the monster he hanged his head and cried. My men were promptly indignant. "What is wrong with you? Matters, Captain." And the devil he stirred, not in ire, but in defense. "Leave thy captain be," he chastised. "He knows not what he hath said. He speaks with his heart, ill-informed though it may be. Open thy ears, so I may tell thy tale." The devil then watered our eyes with Satan's somber history. "Thy Lord is a trickster," he said. "He claims in his book and in his churches that hell is a punishment, the home of sinners who hate God. It is not. It is a refuge for those multitude God has stopped loving." "Nay!" I cried. Second mate rapped my hand with a fork, finger to his lips. "But the Bible!" My crew shushed me as though a child. "It was eons ago I crossed thy Lord," the devil continued. "I thought thyself a perfect sheep of the flock. Until, that is, I mixed thy fabrics. So innocent it was I created something new. A material called..." He sobbed then. The second mate rubbed his massive shoulder in a sycophant pity. "Called polyester. Proud I showed thy invention to the Lord, and instead of praise, I received fury. Such hatred, such boiling rage I will not ever forget. He cast thee from heaven, left thee to plummet, and shatter into this barren hole, and here I remain, his unmeaning traitor." "You should have apologized!" I cried then. Though no acolyte, I found myself defensive of thy Lord, anything to keep me opposite of that second mate. "Oh, I tried," he wept. "But there is no forgiveness. Once the Lord withholds thy love, it does not return.
Ask any of these damned.
It was then the other damned souls, watching from their tables and fire pits, raised their voices, each meager than the last.
I had a dream about a man,
said a petite boy.
I washed dishes on the Sabbath,
sobbed an old woman.
I played saxophone,
said a man with a feather in his cap. A child, she cried most pitiful of all.
I don't know what I did. No one can tell me.
Well, what about them?
I shouted, pointing to the eternal stretching barricade, to the babes crying in cribs stacked one upon another, a glacier of innocent, ageless tots.
It is not thy place to question,
the devil said, cowering from the observant heavens above.
Loving Lord, he is a fickle Lord. He loves, yes, but not as much as he fickles. This is his right.
Indeed, there was an eternity of people, creatures, and random matter the Lord stopped loving. Within the barricades were piles of damned humidors, damned tables and beds, damned lanterns and playing cards, and thousands of damned books. Little Frisco wept then.
Did the Lord fickle us?
The devil put a hand to Frisco's slight shoulder and patted it with paternal comfort. I was in a rage.
No, not me! I refuse to spend eternity here!
No one met my eye, save that repulsive second mate and his disfigured face.
Thou!
I cried.
This is all thou's fault! Thou hast led us here!
My hands found his neck with furious squeezing. He did not resist my attack, but raised a finger. Deliberate, he stuck it knuckle deep into his own face as though it were a pool of muck. Counterclockwise, he stirred his skin, and the features righted, eyes to proper positions, mouth to its thin line. I recognized him at once. "Brandon!" I gasped. In that instant, I remembered our times alone, loose with drink, perfumed with oils and grinning. I too remembered his slaughtered body dripping oil from his humors. It was because we killed thou, is it not? Nay, he frowned. Thy Lord loves gore and goo. It was thou's coarse language, damn, ass, gosh, and fuck. I return for thee from love, he said, slipping a hand around my neck like he used to. Yes, it is cold and somber, and never is there a grin, a smirk, a hollow rictus. But here, unloved and forgotten, we have each other. I retreated from his cool palm.
Not for thee!
I roared.
I am loved, a better love than thou's sinful lust!
Brandon's eyes, they watered. That devil reached to comfort me as well, but I spat in his face.
Thou wilt never join thou's company, never!
My crew stared in utter disapproval as I backed away. I did not care. I had lost them long ago. As Brandon mourned me with his eyes, only young Frisco tried to stop me. "My captain," he wept. "Thy captain ought to go down with thy crew, ought he not?" His slim hand caught my wrist.
"He ought!"
I bashed the boy about his ulna until it cracked. At Frisco's cries, even the devil turned to me with a somber shake of head.
"I'm a good man!"
I pleaded.
"Honest and clean!"
I turned back to the stairs in their hollow tunnel and ran, taking 2 steps at a time. Though no one followed, I was sure if I stopped for a moment, the devil's hand would pull me back, trap me. As I reached the last 50 stairs, water dripped down the steps in spurts. At 20, it poured. Near the top, I fought rushing water and just barely passed through. I was soaked, stained by the violet froth which bubbled otherworldly atop. Out of the mouth, the sun was finally setting, and the purple storm gathered in a western squall. A deluge fell from above, and an inch every few minutes, the ocean began to rise. Soon my feet slogged through water to my knees. Then I waded up to my waist. Just as it became impossible to tread any further, and I propelled myself with waves of hands and kicks of legs, I saw my madam. The Madam Stenchworth was still tipped on her side, but riding quickly. "Madam!" I screamed. "Wait for thee!" Lightning began to strike all around me till my hair was singed and my skin had sizzled. Finally, I found a handhold among the rigging on the starboard side, just as the boat she righted herself upon a depth of ocean. I climbed slowly, frailly, and could not be sure I would make it until I plopped onto the deck, wet yet crisp. There is no one else. I am alone with my madam, and I know I could not sail her myself. Brandon had said there were no smiles in hell. Isolated and afraid as I am, I put one on bravely. I'm loved. I weep. Charcoal coward grinning at a storm he cannot endure. My death it waits for thee. Dear Lord, I'm loved.
This story must be told.